What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 118. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, Connor Elliott. Say hello to the people, Connor.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Connor, how's your week been, buddy?
It's been good.
That's good. Me too. It's been good, but it's been busy. But I'm excited. I'm having a good time. I'm having a really busy weekend, but I've been having a good ass time. Good week.
I hope the rest of my week isn't like last week or this week.
What?
I hope this week is less busy than last week.
Okay, good for you. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, me and Connor, we come to you every Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/2pennygamescast, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. And we give you the new news in the video game industry. We come to you each with two topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. We also play games live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames. But if you can't catch us live, catch us over every Tuesday where a hype episode, Have You Ever Played, goes live from one of our old VODs of our Twitch streams. Hype, Have You Ever Played, is a show in which me and my good buddy Phil sit down and we play a game the other has never played before. Right now, we're in the middle of releasing our Kingdom Hearts 2 series. It was the first time I ever played Kingdom Hearts 2, so go over there to check that out every Tuesday. I believe 8 a.m. is when those go live, but I'll have to check again with Phil on that one. Also, including Phil, this weekend we had our first episode of the Piggy Bank go live, in which we discuss top 5 draft picks for PlayStation IPs, best movie tie-in games, and we play a little game of What Am I Looking At with Phil there. So it's me, Connor, and Phil, the Piggy Bank, every Saturday, 8 a.m. Central Time. But Connor, let's get straight. You've just been deadpanning the camera this whole time?
I did turn away for a second, but then I turned back. But I kept the smile.
I looked out the corner of my eye and saw you, and I was just like, oh shit, he's still doing it.
Hopefully someone got a laugh out of that. For all the others that thought it was creepy, I'm sorry.
Anyways, Connor, let's drop some sense on him. First topic of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been around here before, you know we like to talk about the people first and foremost that make our video games. Video games are toys at the end of the day, so let's put the toys aside and talk about some real stuff. Reporting from IGN, Microsoft lays off hundreds of staff. Xbox is thought to be affected. This is by Ryan Dinsdale. Xbox creator Microsoft has laid off hundreds of staff members across multiple departments. Sources told Insider that less than 1,000 staff were laid off across divisions thought to include Xbox, the forward-looking Microsoft Strategic Missions and Technology Organization, and the Office of the Chief Technology Officer. Studio Alpha, Microsoft's, quote, serious gaming initiative that focused on wargaming simulations is also at risk, according to one source, alongside the Mission Expansion Cloud government team. Microsoft's mission engineering team may also be affected, as its lead, Zach Kramer, sent an email to employees announcing that it would be deprioritizing work already underway. The email continued, quote, "This is hard to do. There are lots of ideas that could potentially have an impact, and each of us has worked very hard. But we must make trade-offs, as resources are not unlimited, and time is the scarcest of them all." Microsoft veteran Casey Limson was among those affected, announcing on Twitter that she had lost her role as product manager in the CFO's office. Another laid-off staff member told Insider that they had only been hired 1 month earlier. Quote, "Like all companies, we evaluate our business priorities on a regular basis and make structure adjustments accordingly," a Microsoft spokesperson said to Insider. Quote, "We will continue to invest in our business and hire in key growth areas in the year ahead." Microsoft announced in July that it planned to lay off less than 1% of its workforce, which currently sits at around 180,000 people, putting towards 1,800 at risk. It's unconfirmed if its most recent wave of layoffs is related to this July's announcement. However, it comes during a testing period for Microsoft as the company attempts to prove that Xbox's $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard is good for consumers and the market. The company has faced criticism from various U.S. senators, the City of New York, the U.S. Justice Department, and most recently, the UK government. Activision Blizzard is also steeped in controversy itself, as earlier in October, another sexual harassment lawsuit was filed against the company, which we covered on this show, joining a line of previous allegations that began with the state of California suing the Call of Duty developer for fostering a frat boy culture. So a lot of technicalities there. First and foremost, hearts and minds go out to those who had lost their jobs. We here at Two Penny Games hope that y'all, find your feet, find some solid ground, and hopefully can bounce back from this quickly.
Losing your job is no easy thing, especially for some people that can't afford to lose it.
Yeah. And it never comes at a good time. It's never like you can never see it coming. It's always just fuck, I went into work and lost my job today. And it sounds like there are more to come within Microsoft. But what does this mean for Microsoft? It doesn't sound to me like it's a sign of bad business. It just sounds like, hey, they're closing certain departments because they're either A, not making enough money, or B, not making any money at all, and Microsoft doesn't see them as profitable in any other type of way, so that they're closing those things, but they don't have any new jobs for these people to go to, so unfortunately they do have to be let go. When you're a company of this magnitude, things like this happen a lot. It sucks to the people affected by it, but sometimes it's sort of like a spend money to make money type situation in which, yeah, we had to lose jobs in order to focus up on what our portfolio is as a business, and we can grow from there. So hopefully not too many more people are affected. Nearly 1,000 is not a small number of people. Hopefully we can, keep it from growing any larger or have any massive problems going around. Connor.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, and I actually do believe that's most likely what it is. I mean, obviously, not every job is going to be able to be retained over the course of the company's life cycle. They're going to have to let some people go for valid reasons. The only issue is that we don't exactly know why these people were laid off. It's reasonable to assume it was for good reasons, but it could just as well be for greedy ones, because we are dealing with Microsoft here. They make tons and tons and tons of money. They don't maybe necessarily have to lay these people off. They may be just still making money, but not making the money that they want them to make, so they give that enough of a reason to lay them off, even though we can kind of look at that and say, okay, well, if you're making the company money, you're doing your job as an employee. It's understandable to say, okay, you're not bringing in money. We're spending money on you, paying your wages, funding whatever projects you're working on, and we're not seeing any return from that. Which, like I said, probably likely what it is, based off the fact that they're not like going on a mass, firing spree, which sometimes these companies do randomly. So it's kind of hard to know their intentions without actually them telling it to us, which is very unlikely. So always have that bit of skepticism when you hear these kinds of things. Realize that it's definitely because of reasonable reasons, but also could be because of selfish, greedy ones as well, or unreasonable reasons. It's either way an unfortunate circumstance, but we just have to make sure that if it is something that didn't need to be done, that we talk about it, and we possibly each person takes it under their own decision how to protest it, whether that's not buying Microsoft products, not renewing subscription services that Xbox has, Microsoft has, whatever. But it's something that needs to be focused on and always remain in your eye when you're seeing these kinds of stories.
Yeah, I'm with you. The people should always come first. And when things like this happen, it sucks 100%. I look to the quote that Microsoft gives to Insider, like all companies, we evaluate our business priorities on a regular basis and make structural adjustments accordingly. We will continue to invest in our business and hire in key growth areas in the year ahead. It sounds like some restructuring. They had to downsize some departments. They have nowhere for these people to go. So unfortunately, they have to be let go, is what it sounds like to me. And of course, you are correct. If that's not the case, if it is just we needed some exec's check to be a little bigger this year, or we needed some type of something going down, then, we need to have a conversation about that as those facts come out. But yeah, as for right now, the best that I can see the reaction to be for this is, fuck, that sucks. Man, I hope those people find their way or figure out something new. And I mean, the industry is in a weird place right now where there are lots of layoffs happening, but there's work to be had everywhere. We actually can't find enough workers to fill the seats that we need to fill. So there's a good chance that a lot of these people will be able to find their way. You know, damn near every PlayStation studio is hiring. Ubisoft is hiring in certain sectors. They're downsizing in other sectors as well, so I'd be careful about that one. EA is hiring all over, and then there's a lot of places to go. It's just a matter of like, where are we going? And I hope it works out for all these people. I'm seeing a lot of glitches in our recording right here. I hope that's going okay.
Uh-oh.
But
Yeah, I guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out. Anyways. Connor, anything else on Microsoft layoffs?
Hope Microsoft has good severance pay.
Yeah, me too.
I hope. I mean, you would think they would. They're Microsoft, and then they are considered a good company to work for. So, best we can hope for, like you said, is hope they get jobs and that they are being taken care of for the short term by Microsoft as a result of the layoffs.
100%. Moving on to our second topic of the day. This is both of these first two topics are Connor. These are your pennies, in case you didn't know, my good friend. Moving on. Ooh, shoot. An update on the Bayonetta 3 voice acting situation that we covered last week. Quite a few things have come out. Specifically, this article by Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg. A tense pay dispute overshadows Nintendo's upcoming Bayonetta 3. Jason goes on. A pay dispute between the creator of a critically acclaimed video game series and its star voice actor reignited a long-simmering debate over wages in the industry. As is often the case in these sorts of disagreements, the details surrounding negotiations and casting for upcoming game Bayonetta 3 are more complicated than what has been portrayed publicly. And then he goes on to talk about what Miss Helena Taylor gave her case, which we covered last week, so you can jump over there. There's a breakout news segment that went up Friday for that if you just want to, get that video straight on. But continuing, the tensions last crested during contract negotiations in 2016 when the union representing many voice actors, the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, orchestrated a strike. Oh, wait, no. This is old news. In the case of Bayonetta 3, the developer appeared to be determined to rehire Taylor, according to two people familiar with the negotiations, as well as documentation reviewed by Bloomberg. Here's what their accounts differ. Platinum Games sought to hire Taylor for at least 5 sessions, each paying $3,000 to $4,000 for 4 hours in the studio, said the people who asked not to be identified because they aren't authorized to discuss private contract negotiations. That would make the total for the game at least $15,000. In response, they said Taylor asked for a 6-figure sum as well as residuals on the game. Platinum declined and, following lengthy negotiations, took auditions for a new actor. Platinum later offered Taylor a cameo in the game for the fee of 1 session, which she turned down, the people said. In an email, Taylor described this account, quote, an absolute lie, and said Platinum, quote, was trying to save their ass and the game. She said she stood by everything she said in the video. Quote, I would like to put this whole bloody franchise behind me, quite frankly get on with my life in the theater, she wrote. Representatives for Platinum Games and Nintendo didn't respond to requests for comment. Hideki Kamiya, the executive director of Bayonetta 3, called Taylor's allegations sad and deplorable in a Twitter post. Regardless, Taylor's comments resonated widely, dominating headlines on gaming websites and even gracing the digital pages of TMZ. Several of Taylor's peers spoke out after her videos. Brian Deckhart, who acted in Cyberpunk 2077 and Red Dead Redemption 2, said he was offered $4,000 to work on a non-union project for a big-budget game. Sean Chiplock, who voiced 3 characters in the Nintendo blockbuster The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, said he was paid about $3,000 for that job. The Bayonetta series is beloved by fans and critics, but has never been a big commercial success. The Nintendo Switch version of Bayonetta 2, released in 2018, has sold just over 1 million copies, far fewer than many of Nintendo's other offerings. For Bayonetta 3, the acting costs were higher than other projects because the studio relied on union performers, said 3 people familiar with the game's production, which meant a minimum of about $900 for a 4-hour voice session plus bonuses. Prominent actors or franchise stars like Taylor usually make more. Um, and then we covered about how Taylor, wished well for Jennifer Hale, who took over the role in Bayonetta 3, but, claimed that, she has dominance over the character or dominion over the character, and that, Jennifer Hale, though talented, is not the voice of Bayonetta, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this also launched a wildfire with fans of the franchise sending Jennifer Hale a lot of hate, which is undeserved. And, she kind of had to sit quietly and just kind of take it. She put out a statement of saying, hey, I have things I want to say on this issue, but I can't because I'm under NDA. But, rest assured that, I'm wanting to say something. And then Platinum put out a statement saying, yo, hey, be nice to Jennifer. She didn't do anything wrong. Something is confused here. So Connor, after all of this new information came out, turns out Platinum tried to give her more than just $4,000 for the complete sum. How are we feeling here about this story now?
You see, so the core issue I have with it, right, is that ultimately it is still a she said, they said type situation.
Yep.
So you can't absolutely, in the same way that before we couldn't absolutely confirm that Helena Taylor's issues with her pay were true, we can't say that now. She was absolutely right, because I think we both were kind of erring on the side last week of at least I definitely was thinking Helena Taylor was screwed over for this role and she deserved some kind of a recompense for what she had to abandon, a project that she obviously cared a lot about. But this is not. It'd be one thing if Platinum Games came out and said, no, this is completely untrue. It's definitely a situation where I'd be like, I'm believing Helena Taylor still. I'm going to err on her side, the worker side, usually. But Platinum Games came out, and obviously that was their stance. But Jason Schreier corroborated this. He came out with this story, and so did Andy Robinson of VGC. So we have three different voices, two of them completely separate from Platinum Games, saying that a greater offer was given to Helena Taylor, while Helena Taylor still denies that. So
Schreier and Robinson do their due diligence too,
and they do, which is yeah, exactly. So they're good journalists. They're good gaming journalists. So they're most likely their sources are solid. So I now flipped my position to think that Platinum Games did make the right decision in trying to get her back, which in hindsight makes sense because they obviously wouldn't just want to throw a bone out to Helena Taylor for her $4,000 offer to voice Bayonetta in Bayonetta 3, lose her, and then just say, okay, we'll go to Jennifer Hale. It makes sense that they'd want to come back with another offer because they'd want to keep her, because she had become the voice that people had, made synonymous with Bayonetta. But, going with the belief that is what happened, Helena Taylor still said no. And now this whole big issue has popped up. So while I do still err on the side of Platinum Games as opposed to Helena Taylor, it's detracted from what the core conversation should have been about, which was voice actors not being paid enough for their roles. And now it's that message has been undermined by this whole shitfest that occurred that really didn't need to happen. And a person I'm going to blame a lot for is Kamiya, the vice president of Platinum Games, because he acted like a child and made the whole thing worse. If it was done in a proper manner, PR released a statement saying this is untrue, we offered her a greater wage, whatever. If that had just played out, this would be a lot simpler of a situation. But unfortunately, it was complicated by a guy who just could not get angry on Twitter, which is never. I don't think anyone who ever blows up on Twitter ever actually ends up in a good spot at the end of it all. Though obviously Kamiya is back on Twitter, so he seems to have just weathered this storm. And once again, it is seeming like the public perception, at least from what I've seen online, is going towards believing that Platinum Games, their claim of what happened is actually what happened. But regardless of that, it's disappointing that now that's become the dominant story as opposed to voice actors getting paid more, which is my main issue with this whole thing now. It's just unnecessarily happened. This whole fiasco.
I mean, and I'm with you for the most part here. I'm not necessarily erring on any side one way or the other. I think clearly, I do believe that Platinum Games offered this thing. The documents were read, sources were corroborated. The reporters did their job here, and congrats to them for doing a good job and putting it in a way to where it was less. They never called Taylor a liar. You know,
Mhm.
they let Taylor speak her piece, they let Platinum speak their piece, and then they present their findings there, which is really good journalism in that case. I'm not on anyone's particular side here. I am of the opinion that voice talent in general probably, yes, does need to be paid more for their pursuits. You know, there's a lot of corruption in that case, and uh, it gives me a lot of empathy and a lot of sympathy for Helena Taylor's case here. In general, whoever is at the lower standing, whoever is not in power, I'm gonna give my support to them. Period. Like they get it first and foremost because you know Platinum Games is gonna be fine after this. Their next game's gonna come out. No one's ever gonna think about this ever again. The next Bayonetta game could come out. A Bayonetta 4 or a remake or whatever could come out, and no one's gonna talk about this moment. There might be one headline of like, "Hey, she's not coming back ever," and I don't think she will. And you know, from her point of view, I could see why she would feel that way, and that's fine. Um, but speaking as one, actors are pretty entitled. And there's so much work that goes into production, and the actor is such a small cog in the machine, but it's just unfortunate that they are the face and the voice of the product. So, you know, a lot of that representation and a lot of the eyes and a lot of the attention goes to them, but there's so much more that goes into any type of production, whether it be video games, a stage, a TV show, a movie, music, anything. The talent is just the thing to get like it's just an element of telling the story. It's not the story itself usually, unless you're Dwayne the Rock Johnson in Black Adam or something. um so I feel for Taylor in this scenario. Clearly lines got crossed somewhere. Clearly there was a huge miscommunication, and everyone believes their own side of the story, and the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. There was probably just a long series of negotiations that fell through and failed, and communication broke down, and you know it just didn't get where it needed to be, and that's really unfortunate. Because Bayonetta is a beloved franchise, even though it is a smaller franchise. So I hope this is the end of this story. I don't feel like there's anywhere else to take this story. I'm with you. I wish it was more about talent getting paid. But that's a mixed bag for me personally as an artist to be like, well, like we're a small part of this of this machine that is entertainment. Like, it's not the most important thing. But I understand that this is how you get people moving, and this is how progress and change is made. So again, I think clearly Taylor's gonna find her feet. I don't know if we'll ever really see her in games ever again. But as for right now, this story is just a big damn. That sucks.
And unfortunately, sometimes stories just end up that way.
Yep.
Which, like I said, hopefully she will be able to, like you say, find her feet. I don't have any, doubts that she will.
Oh yeah. The talent, has the training and the pedigree to back it up. And we'll probably get some kind of attention or eyes on this or something. So I think in the long run, I'm sure she'll be fine. Platinum Games will be unaffected by this. Nobody is. I struggle to think anybody is going to boycott Bayonetta 3 because of this. Even if this update hadn't come out and it was just Helena Taylor saying, "Hey, fuck this game," I still don't think it would have been affected in any meaningful way. But yeah, unfortunate that it all had to play out this way.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
Connor, moving on to our third topic of the day, my first penny of the day. Man, we got a lot of trailers. There's a lot of trailers, so much so that you and I had to cheat and shove 3 different game trailers into one topic here. I want to start with the Resident Evil 4 remake. We got extended gameplay footage here, mostly focused on the opening hour of the game, but it does bounce around and show us a couple of other key characters and stuff and key moments in the game, which I'm very, very excited about. There is a reaction to this video live on youtube.com/2pennygamescast, in which you can see what was the layout for this show that I've since changed because it was such a harsh color and I didn't end up liking the design. So in that one piece of content, you'll see the old layout, but here's this new one now. If you're listening on the audio podcast, come jump over to the YouTube side just to see the new layout and stuff. I think it's very nice, and I'm excited to premiere it here on this episode. Connor, the people kind of already know my feelings on this. We also discussed it on the piggy bank, so maybe if they listen to that, they've got a bit of yours too. But what did you think of Resident Evil 4 remake here?
All right, I thought it looked great. I'm generally with the entire consensus of the internet, which was you can parry things. It still has the whole. It seems like it still has the some of the comedy that the fourth game had, though it was very limited. Which it should stay that way. But seeing a cow get lit on fire and charged at enemies is pretty wacky. But it makes it in a fun way, not in a way that takes me out of the game.
I love his I don't know if you ever heard it, but he has a corny little one-liner there that's very much in the line of like, where'd everybody go, bingo, where he says, "Bill me for the damages."
Yeah, and those are the comedy bits I'm talking about. I want to see more of it. Stealth getting added. I didn't expect that, but it makes sense. It makes sense that you just can sneak around enemies because I know Resident Evil 2. A big part of it was running around the PD, the police department, going from place to place, having to dodge Mr. X as he's trying to chase you around. So being able to just kind of I know there's a lot of circumventing enemies in that game because you don't want to fight everything. Whereas in Resident Evil 4's back in the day, you had to clear all the enemies out or kill as many as you can while you have some kind of timer going down with no real way to get around any kind of confrontation. But giving you another way to tackle any sort of situation with stealth, I'm all here for it. I think it's going to make the game more fun and make it feel more fresh. Since this is what remakes should do. They should keep the same essence of the old game, but add enough new features to make it play better from a modern standpoint. And one aspect of it that really excited me about the deflect system is the chances for it to affect a certain boss fight in the game that sucked in the fourth one against I can't even remember his name. Kruger?
Kruger. Yeah.
Kruger, yeah. It seems like there's now a lot of potential to have some better boss fights because the boss fights in that game weren't that great.
I didn't even think about how this affects boss fights. Oh fuck! Oh.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. The Servants of Salazar. I don't know, those guys chasing you around or that one chasing you around. There's a lot of ways they can, from what they showed us from the demo, to theorize of how they can shake up the rest of the game. So they did a really good job of just hinting at what could be to come in further parts of the game, and just a great showcase all around. Really good. Blew up the internet.
Yeah.
Succeeded there.
No, I'm in love with this. I'm in love with this footage. I think
imagine.
everything is correct. Everything is so good here. I don't think there's a better way that from what we're being presented here and shown here, I don't think there's a better way that this game could have turned out. This game, from what they're showing me, has actually surpassed my expectations of what I thought Resident Evil 4 remake was going to be. And I'm fucking ecstatic to be able to get my hands on it and to really see how it feels to move about the world. I mean, it just all looks like it plays so good. I like that so many lessons learned from Resident Evil 2 remake and even 3 have been, clearly seen here. People complained that, maybe it was, I don't know if it was complained, but there was a critique of 2 and 3 that, your character moved a little too slowly here. And then in 4, Leon's run speed is a little faster. There's still a focus on the action side of Resident Evil 4, but we're also not afraid to slow it down. Draw in the lighting, draw in the focus, get it a little spooky, a little scary, a little creepy. I'm with you where the parry mechanics, being an evolution of the use your sub weapon as a quick get out of the way card from 2 is now expanded upon and turned into a parry system. I love the campiness of, as we're about to see here in this footage, of parrying the chainsaw with a knife. I love that he goes down and stabs dudes with knives. The dynamic elements of all of the gameplay shown here it really just kind of blows my mind. I can't believe that there are stealth mechanics in a Resident Evil game. I can't believe that they somehow found a great balance for what appears to be the camp and the action of 4 and bring it back to its roots of survival horror. I think, they showed off in another trailer how, they showed off the merchant and how the merchant plays, and that there's different way. There's the classic buy weapons, upgrade weapons, sell items, but then there's a trading thing for special items and so forth. I think that's genius. I think the level of dynamic level design is going to be upheld here, and I think it might even be advanced and improved upon. I didn't even think about how this affects boss fights, and now I'm so excited to go through some of those boss fights and see some of the ones that have to be there, and then I'm curious to see if they add new ones or change boss fights at their core, or maybe which ones they might cut or replace. I don't think there's a game that I've been more excited to jump in and get my hands on in years. Like, this has blown me away. I am over the moon, like creaming my jeans over this gameplay footage. Everything looks so good here. It has not only the opportunity to be the best and maybe even my favorite Resident Evil title, it has the chance to be the best survival horror title. It has the chance to be one of my favorite video games of all time. And God, man, my expectations are so high, and it looks like they're surpassing them in so many different ways. And of course, if you want to see our review and impressions and thoughts on the original Resident Evil 4, we did just a few, 2 months ago now, 3 months ago now, we posted our Resident Evil 4 retro review for our 2 Penny Game Club. We're reviewing Dishonored at the beginning of next month, so check in on that. But you can go see that over at youtube.com/2pennygamescast. And yeah, man. Oh man, I can't wait. I'm so over the moon excited for this. This looks so fucking fantastic. I've loved literally every single frame of what they've shown us. There's been nothing that I've questioned and been like, why is it like this? No, everything looks great.
Resident Evil really has made a comeback. I think this kind of cements that, especially with, beyond the Resident Evil 4 remake, of what they're going to do in the future. Because it seems like their first-person games with Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil, I always forget the names. 7?
7 was Biohazard, but it was more known as 7.
Yeah, those games were good. I enjoyed them. But now, obviously, we're moving away from the Ethan Winters whole, storyline, thankfully, and we are, seemingly focusing more on this third-person Resident Evil that we've come to, know since its inception, which I'm all here for. I want to see what they do beyond this. But you actually covered one of the questions I was going to ask you, if it was going to be better than Resident Evil 2 remake, because it looks like it could be better. It looks like it will be better. Obviously, that's yet to be seen, but. It's pretty surprising that you, the Resident Evil 2 jerk-offer, is going to all of a sudden say that Resident Evil 4 is going to be better than it.
I mean, everything it's showing me shows that, they've just continued to improve and advance upon and add new mechanics, and that makes sense, and, pay homage to the games before, and excite new gamers who have, either never touched the original or weren't enamored by the original, or who maybe even didn't like the original and how it aged. What they're doing with the remake series, I think, is phenomenal. I'm hoping to see it continue into 5 and into 6 so that, we can kind of fix, because 5 is really starting to show its age, and 6 has never been a good game. And I'm hoping that, and 5, has a healthy amount of criticism levied at it as well. But you and I enjoyed that game.
Stupid criticisms.
But, I want to see that. But I also want to see a return to Resident Evil 1 and remake it in this style again, and see how that works out for us. But, and then at the same time, like, I'm just curious to see where the franchise goes forward, because we can't just remake the entire series. And then once you get past 4, it is a question mark on whether they will continue or not. I hope they do. And, keep the main saga of games continuing after Village and so on and so forth. So I'm super interested to see where this franchise is going. And as a fan, I just can't wait to get my hands on this one.
Has potential, being one of the greats.
Connor, also, what popped is Konami had themselves a little Silent Hill presentation in which they announced a whole bunch of stuff. Mostly the big thing being the Silent Hill 2 remake by Blooper Team. We had talked about this last week about their Silent Hill transmission that they had talked. Did you watch the whole transmission?
I watched the segmented parts. I never watched
Okay.
the full whole thing.
Yeah, I watched the full thing. A lot of it was just I just kind of shrugged at. I'm not a Silent Hill fan. I've never played a Silent Hill game. But Silent Hill 2 looks quality. I hope it comes out great. Blooper Team is not a rank studio, but they're definitely a studio quality. So if this is an opportunity for them to level up in the public eye, I hope all the best for them. And I'll probably play this game when it comes out because of the legacy that Silent Hill 2 has. If I have time, I'll even squeeze in trying to play the original game.
Yeah, same here.
And yeah, I just hope I hope this also satisfies fans. People seem to enjoy what they saw from this trailer, even though we didn't really get a good look at anything really gameplay wise. There's some walking around, there's some little small quick things, but yeah, I'm interested to see this. They also announced a few other titles that I can't remember off the top of my head, and if I was good at my job, I would have looked them up. But there was two other games coming, one being sort of a social experiment game from Bad Robot and the J.J. Abrams crew. Not J.J. Abrams himself, but, his company and so forth, in which they're sort of doing like a group experiment and, the community makes the choices and affects canon and so forth. There was another game in the style of from the Annapurna publishing. I forget who's developing it, but it was more in that narrative storytelling structure, similar to like Supermassive Games or Quantic Dream games for Silent Hill. I think there's potential there as well. There was a new movie announced that's coming out. We'll see it when it comes out.
Yeah, Brad.
But yeah, I think Silent Hill fans are eating right now, and I think survival horror fans as a whole are eating right now between, Resident Evil 4, Dead Space remake, Silent Hill 2 remake, Alan Wake 2. There's another one I'm missing. Oh, Callisto Protocol. How could I forget? Survival horror is back, baby. And as a fan of the genre, this is great. Connor, any go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention that one of them was the things they announced was Silent Hill F, which is the other big thing that got a lot of people talking because it's going to be written by a famous Japanese light novel creator who created visual novel creator who created something called Higurashi, which is a very psychological series, and it's very well received over in Japan and over here in the West. So people were really hyping it up due to that guy's writing credentials. The one other thing that I saw a lot of people talking about was Silent Hill 2 fans showing actually apprehension towards certain aspects of the remake. I'm not going to bother reiterating what they said because it was obviously tied to plot details in Silent Hill 2. And even though I know that one of the main plot points, I haven't played it. I don't know a lot about what goes on there or whether this trailer, actually does show that they might be messing things up that were done in the original game. Like one of the, I can't, like I said, I won't bother reciting it. But there was some apprehension from some true fans, or what I assume are true fans of Silent Hill 2, of whether the Blooper Team will actually get this game right. Especially since someone also criticized their writing, or obviously this is a remake, so as far as any kind of edits to what happens exactly in the story, they might just be verbatim. It might add new details to it. But apparently the medium had a pretty ridiculous story, from what I understand, and it kind of was bad, the writing of that story. From what I heard, I haven't played the medium either. It was just enough, and I saw it pretty frequently to think that maybe this isn't a hole in one. But it's, as you said, also a chance for the Blooper Team to show that they've got metal. I mean, one of the things they've talked about in regards to this game is that it's not going to have loading screens. It's going to be seamless the entire game. Which, if you could pull that off well in a horror game, that's pretty good. And like I said, time to show your stuff. Any naysayers you can silence with this game.
I think it's important for them to very closely study the Resident Evil 2 remake and what happened there. This is in a similar vein to that, where Silent Hill 2 is regarded as one of the best survival horror games of all time. Came out a little later than Resident Evil 2, but both of those games are heralded in the same. Those are the same, level of praise So I think they should take notes from what Resident Evil 2 did, which wasn't perfect. You know, there was a lot of critiques from fans of Resident Evil 2 and the Resident Evil 3 remakes, who felt that, you know, the game kind of underserved new gamers in very specific ways, and maybe that's a case of what will happen here. But I think in terms of tone, in terms of modernization of the game, I think it's important to look at those games and see what they did, and, you know, see how we can adapt that to Silent Hill 2 here. Yeah, I'm gonna play it for sure because I love me some survival horror, and I can't wait. PlayStation 5 exclusive for the first year, and then I believe onto PC and maybe even other platforms like Xbox and so forth. But for the first year, PS5 exclusive. I'm glad that it's PS5 exclusive. You know, things like even Resident Evil 4 remake is going to be on PlayStation 4, which I think is a little unfortunate. You know, we're coming up onto the PS5's third year here, and we're still servicing old consoles.
Yeah.
I understand it's hard to get your hands on these consoles sometimes, but, you know, 3 years deep into the PlayStation 4, we had said goodbye to the PS3. So I don't know. It's you know,
It can hold the game back.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, 3 years. Coming up on 3 years.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this November is
Dang.
gonna be 3 years. Yeah.
It doesn't seem that long.
I know.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Seems like a year.
No.
Like it came out last year.
It's been since we've had them.
Yeah, right.
But you know,
Guess that's probably why.
yeah. And I think if you're someone who like really wants a PlayStation 5 at this point, like you should have been able to get your hands on one, despite how difficult it has been to get your hands on one. You know, there's outlets, there's opportunities, there's ways. You know, we painstakingly turned on notifications for, you know, watch lists and so forth so that we could be first in queue, and it still took us a lot of effort to get there, but at this point we should kind of be there. I understand they're still not on shelves the way they should be, so it's not easy for, you know, a mom of 3 kids to, you know, walk into a store and find one for her, you know, 10, 12, and 13-year-old or whatever. But, you know, in terms of like the general consumer, the people who go out and buy them themselves, you should have one by now. And, you know, I think it's unfortunate that we keep having to cater games to that platform, even though the PlayStation 4 does have over 100 million units in the wild, so it would be stupid to cut off all of those sales. But it's just like man, we're still really doing this.
Yeah, it's a slow change, which, you know, I'm all right for. I don't think it'll hold. I think it does hold back certain games, but not all games. You know, Resident Evil 4. I don't know. I haven't played it yet.
Yeah,
Don't know if it can. If it is, it does make sense for it to be on PS4. But it's, as you said, they have a lot of PS4s out there. Probably the smarter move in all things, because people want to play this game. It's going to be one of the biggest games of that year. Get to as many people.
More than likely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Connor, and then closing out this topic, man, you wanted to talk about this Final Fantasy 16 trailer. So we'll talk about it. Here it is. Bada boom.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16. I'll be honest. I'm not a fan of how they're marketing this game.
Why is that?
I'm just not just the bombardment of trailer after trailer. Like, give me some real hard gameplay, and stuff. Stop talking about you know, hundreds of years ago or in the future. Stop giving me lore. I don't care about lore. Give me mechanics. Give me why I'm interested in this game. Who are these characters and why should I be invested in them? I'm not getting that from these trailers. I'm getting big spectacle, and spectacle means nothing to me in a trailer. You know, like you need to build to those big moments, not just throw them in my face as things to happen. I'm excited for the summons battles, just like everyone else who has ever touched a Final Fantasy game. But at the same time, like, I want to know how this game plays. I want to know who these people are. I want to know why I should care. And I just don't know why I should care.
Yeah, but as far as the gameplay segment is concerned, that's valid, and I do agree with you as well. If it's just, you know, theatrics over and over and over again, it's not going to do much. But, you know, in the case of this trailer, I'm not going to try and remember what the exact message of each trailer of Final Fantasy 16 has been, but for this one, it was clearly trying to show you more about the world. Because, you know, up until now, it's like, okay, yeah, they're going to nations fighting over crystals. That's all we generally know, and giant, you know, icons, summons from past Final Fantasy games are going to be duking it out, and you're going to be able to play as them. But we didn't know the exact overall big players in the game, because I'm assuming from what we've been seeing, there's going to be a pretty good chunk of characters in this game. It'd be kind of weird to have so many factions.
We're jumping around a lot of locales.
Yeah. You need to kind of have enough characters to draw you to that location. Like, so for example, one of them, the king looked like just a generic bad guy, just not a good person at all. But the person who is the icon of that country seems to have more morality than the person who he's serving under. Which I want to see more characters like that for each individual kingdom. That makes it less easy to cast your lot in for a side when this all inevitably comes out and this war that obviously is happening occurs. So I think it is giving me enough breadcrumbs to say, okay, here's why you should like the story, why you should be interested in it, because they've obviously focused a lot on the world and the story as opposed to gameplay, which, like I said before, they should be showing more gameplay. And right here, they showed a spoiler as well. Another case of showing too much in a trailer when you don't need to show any of that. But at the end of the day, it gives us cool spectacle with some world building that draws in a large number of Final Fantasy players to think that this game is going to be really good, because you already see a conversation kind of popping up of a lot of people not really happy with this new style. They're, really just casting aspersions on this game based off the fact that it's this medieval fantasy and that's not their setting, which, you're going to have to try and bring people in with world building in this case. I think they should do more with gameplay, but, that's up to them. If they want to market their game that way, so be it. But I enjoy these trailers when they come out. They give me a lot of enjoyment, and they make me more excited for the game, because I am anticipating this game very much so.
I'll play it.
Yeah,
I'll give it a
you
try.
have to play it. You have to play it.
I have to. And then closing out our news segment here, let's talk about Tencent seems to be falling apart over here. This is our final topic of the day, my final penny. Pulling from a PC Gamer article by Joshua Wollens, Tencent shareholders drown their sorrows as Chinese tech crackdown makes it less valuable than a booze firm. Tencent, the Chinese tech and gaming colossus that you'll know for owning a slice of seemingly everything in the games industry, is no longer China's most valuable company. Bloomberg reports that Tencent's stock price has hit a 5-year low, and its overall market capitalism was overtaken late last month by, of all things, Kuei-Chao Maotai, a Guizhou based firm specializing in the production of Maotai rice. At the time of writing, Kuei-Chao Maotai has a $235 million lead over the Tencent's market cap. This would have been unthinkable just last year when Tencent was trading at between $50 and $90 per share and was easily the most valuable company in China. But Tencent's fortunes have been brought low by increasingly hostile domestic environment. A combination of China's tech crackdown, strict COVID policies, and generally flagging economic growth have made it hard for Tencent and plenty of other Chinese companies to do business. Tencent has wiped $650 billion off its market cap since the beginning of 2021. The downturn in its fortunes has led Tencent to pursue a strategy of downsizing, imposing a wave of firings in departments across China in an effort to make up for its losses. The frosty Chinese market even partially explains Tencent's ever-growing presence in the Western games market. It's been buying up non-Chinese companies precisely because it's currently so tough to do business at home. The struggle shows no sign of letting up. Tencent got its first game approval from the Chinese government in over a year this September, and it's not like COVID is going anywhere anytime soon. You can probably expect the company to continue cutting back at home and expanding abroad in the foreseeable future. Kuei-Chao Maotai, on the other hand, stands to benefit from promised government support for consumer-driven sectors. Maybe Tencent should just pivot into liquor production.
Well, not much we can do about this.
Oh yeah, this is unfortunate. And it's not like this is the end for Tencent. It's just a down period. Maybe they'll be able to come back, or maybe they will fade into oblivion. Who knows? Or maybe they'll just be able to coast on by at the size that they are currently. But yeah, Tencent was a huge looming threat over here in the West in terms of market share. There was, I believe, was it Tencent, the ones that Ubisoft was fighting for freedom from because they kept buying stock out in Ubisoft? Was it Tencent or was it, I forget who else it was.
Yeah, I don't. I cannot remember.
Correct me in the comments for that one because I'm failing to remember now. But yeah, Tencent was just constantly buying things out just a few years ago, and it's kind of shocking to see how COVID has just kneecapped their efforts so ferociously alongside all of the China crackdowns, which we've covered a couple of times on this show throughout the last 2 years. Yeah, it's hard to get games out there. I saw that China had only just now approved their first game in years to be published within China. So, seeing just a conglomerate, take a step back like this is quite shocking to me personally.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect a company as big as this one to go down. I mean, that's like expecting Microsoft or Sony just to start, rapidly losing money and no longer be a big player. I'm the worst thing about this is easily the fact that as a result of this, workers for Tencent are going to be screwed over, whether it is losing their jobs, taking pay cuts, whatever. It's clearly not as good of a place to work for them as it originally used to be. But on the flip side of that, Tencent was being one of those aggressive companies that was trying to buy up a lot of things within the gaming industry. So, seeing a big player get taken down a peg on that, from that perspective, isn't necessarily a bad thing. These companies kind of just keep making money, and they don't really have the most ethical business practices. Tencent being one of those companies that I would consider a bit too big. So, while there are many cons to this, there's pros to it. And ultimately, there's nothing really anyone can do because the Chinese government can just, they have them by the balls. They can basically tell them, they can just get them to do whatever they want them to do. And if they want them to suffer, they're going to suffer. If they want them to succeed, they'll succeed under China. But obviously, that's not happening right now. So, unfortunately for those workers.
Here comes the Embracer Group. Eating up all the bandwidth that Tencent has lost.
Yeah, that's another big one.
Dark days, or who knows? But
who knows what the future may hold?
Indeed, Connor. Moving on to the what we've been playing segment. I'm about to re-intro our review here because I've been playing a little game called Marvel Snap. So here, give me just a second to set up when I need to.
Well, man, it's nice to see you playing a PC game.
Huh?
It's nice to see you playing a PC game. I'm always happy that you're not like you wouldn't play like a phone game or anything like that.
What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a 2-Penny Games review. This time, I've been playing Marvel Snap. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, Connor Elliott. Say hello to the people, Connor.
Hi.
Connor, you have not been playing Marvel Snap.
No.
No.
No, and I probably won't.
You probably won't. So, for those of you who don't know, Marvel Snap is a mobile card game. I believe it can also be played on PC or whatever. But I'm playing it on my Android phone right here, in which it's a Marvel card game in which you're taking over control of these three different locations. The locations are all based within the Marvel universe. So you have New York, you have Wakanda, you have fucking Doctor Doom's tower or whatever, Kingpin's apartment or just places like that. And the way it works is you'll place a card down. It has a energy cost and a power. The energy cost is how much energy it obviously costs to play that card. So there are 6 turns throughout a single match, and every turn your energy counter goes up by 1. So in turn 1, you have 1 energy, 2, 2, 3, 3, and so on and so forth. So if, for example, I play a Nightcrawler card who has power 1, or cost 1, power 2, I'll play him down at, let's say, New York, at the New York location. And the different locations act as like 3 different lanes. So you just choose the different lane that you want to throw your card down. So let's say I throw Nightcrawler down in the left lane. That cost me 1 energy. So that's, 1 energy spent for that round. And he's 2. So now I have a total power of 2 in New York at the left lane. And then whoever has the highest power count at the end of the game wins that location. You need to win 2 out of the 3 locations to win the game.
Ah, I see.
And then with that, every card has has a certain ability, or every card may have an ability or not. If they don't have an ability, it usually means that they're either really cheap and quality use, or they're super powerful. So like Hulk is, he costs a full 6 energy, which is usually the cap. But he has 12 power. So that's a big punch of power to one specific location, or a card may have, a special ability. This is either a on reveal ability for when you reveal the card that you've placed, or an ongoing ability, which as soon as you put the card down, that ability now transpires for as long as the card is active on the field. A good example of this is on effect, Spider-Woman gives -1 power to everyone on the enemy team's side of that specific location. So if I put her down in New York, let's say my opponent has 2 or 3 cards in New York, those 2 or 3 cards will lose 1 power. If he puts a card down next turn in New York, Spider-Woman does not affect that card. However, an ongoing ability would be Mr. Fantastic, who gives +2 power to every adjacent location he's next to. So I typically put Mr. Fantastic in the middle lane so that he then gives lanes 1 and 3 +2 power. And so on and so forth. Every card is different. Iron Man, for example, has 0 power, but he doubles the power count of that location. So if your power count at the location is 6, he doubles it up to 12, so on and so forth. But he doesn't add any specifically on his own unless he's been affected by another card or a location what can I call it? Each location has like its own gimmick. So, not all of them, but most of them do. So, for example, in the footage that I'm showing right now, you can see Nova Roma. When that location was revealed, both players drew a card. And then the Wakanda Embassy gives +2 power to cards in the player's hands. That's on reveal. How the reveals work, it's in the first 3 turns of the game. So turn 1, location left will reveal what it is. Turn 2, the second one in the middle will reveal, and then turn 3, the third one will. So when the Wakanda Embassy, who's in the third lane, was revealed, whatever cards were in the player's hand gained +2 power, and that was it. It didn't continue throughout the game or else. And every location has different sort of circumstances that goes on. Like there are certain locations that every card loses 3 power. So like if you place a 2 power card, you'll actually lose power overall and start being in the negatives. And there's a sort of level of complexity there that is actually really fun and engaging because it's just complex enough to where you do have some thought, but games are quick and fast enough to where you're not being drawn out, and no card can be super, super complicated because these matches are so short. And the cost power ratio is already eating up a lot of that bandwidth that you have time to think about in the 6 turns that you have. So it's usually just +1, +2 prerequisite, depending on what the card is in terms of abilities. So far, it seems like a lot of the balance is really, really nice. You can really have your own type of personality in building your deck and swapping out cards that work best for you. For example, the card on screen right now, Medusa, when placed in the middle lane, her power doubles from 2 to 4. I was using Medusa heavily early on, but then found another card that benefited me in a different way, so I swapped Medusa out and had my build play out differently. You really do feel like you're building your own personal deck and so on and so forth. I've reached a level of the game right now where I do feel like I need to start really dialing in the strengths and the weaknesses of my deck in order to succeed. And I think I've kind of found a solid balance right now, but I am at a standstill where there's something that still needs to be added or taken away. There's something in the deck that isn't still quite working in the ways that I want. So I'm finding myself losing matches more often than I'd like to. Don't get me wrong, Connor. I'm still winning a majority of my matches because, I'm built different out here.
I always knew.
Also, I think the progression in this game is actually pretty well built out. You level up let me back up. So every card can sort of be leveled up in its own way. And it's just a cosmetic level up. There is no bonuses attributed to the card that affect gameplay. You just start out with a basic card, and then when you level it up to level 2, the character of the card breaks out of the frame. So now they're,
Uh,
the character is like a little bigger than the frame is, and they're poking out from under it, which allows the card to have a little more detail and is nicer to look at. And then like level 3 upgrades, the card becomes a 3D. Has a 3D effect to it, so the character is kind of popping out from the frame a little bit. And then in the fourth one, there's an animated effect on the card in the background. This is really small. It's usually just smoke moving in the background or something, but it's just kind of something to give each type of card its own type of personality and to improve it, so that it looks nicer the longer you use the card. This is all built off of resources, and points are distributed to specific cards at the end of every match. So let's say, and it's usually, as far as I can tell, focused on cards that are in your deck. So for example, I've been using Electra, I just took Electra out of my deck. I've been using Spider-Woman recently, and let's say at the end of every game, I got 5 points for Spider-Woman. But at every level up, you need like 5, you need 10. I think you actually get 6. Yeah, I think it depends. You get a couple of points at the end of every game for one specific card. So you're slowly leveling them all up, but it just takes amount of resources and time to get them all to where you need to be. And you don't really have control as to what card gets those resources other than it's in your deck.
mm-hmm.
And then every time you level up a card, you get a certain number of points to your overall player level. And that player level is how you get additional resources to continue leveling up your card and leveling yourself up and getting new cards and new card variants. There's different designs for every card. For example, I very quickly unlocked the Hawkeye variant, in which he's a little more... He looks more like an animated cartoon character as opposed to like a hyper-realistic version of himself. So he looks, less badass, but more friendly and fun and so forth like that. So you can get different variations of every card, and it's really cool to kind of, see one down the line and be like, oh, man, I'd really like that. Or see an enemy player with a variant of a card, and you go, oh, shit, I'd really like that version of that card because that's a mainstay in my deck. So I'm enjoying all of that. This is also where the microtransactions come in which case they have a shop that premieres different variants of every card. Like they've got a pixelated version in the cards right now in the shop that are tied to a particular resource, which really isn't that hard to obtain in this game. So you don't need to give the game a bunch of money. You do pretty much need to get the battle pass to really dig into that, but it's not affecting gameplay in any way. You can continue to unlock cards, you can continue to play the game. It's really just for variants, and maybe you'll pick up a card that you don't own already, but it's cool to look at or whatever in that way. I have purchased the battle pass because they've got a Spider-Man event going on right now, and you know what they're doing with this launch of this game when you're putting Spider-Man in the event. So in that event, Spider-Man Miles Morales is like the first card you get when you purchase the battle pass, so I bought that for that reason. And then you can also customize the back of your cards. So you're given like 6 default colors to like sort of like customize it yourself, and then from there you're unlocking them right now. Mine right now has the default is just like it's the purple Snap logo, and mine right now is the Marvel logo with a black back. Level, I think it's like 44 in the battle pass, is a Spider-Man back for my cards. So that I saw that and I immediately was like, I need that. So here's $10 for the battle pass. And I'm working my way towards that right now. But I think I think this game is of quality enough that it totally deserves the battle pass purchase. Like, it's a free game. You can play it as much as you want. They do give you like a free like tutorial battle pass to sort of level up and have player cards and stuff. And you're not fighting real players until you get through that first battle pass. But once you do, then you start fighting real players, and the difficulty spikes. Holy shit. But I'm always enjoying it. I'm always gripped, and I'm always finding myself, every time I load up the app, I'm always wanting to spend more and more time in the app and playing the game. I went from, let me try it out, I heard it's fun, whatever, to I literally spent 2 or 3 hours in one of my first play sessions. Like, I just looked down, I was playing on my phone, and I looked up and I went, oh, fuck, I gotta go do some homework. Like, I've put too much time into this game. Yeah, I'm pretty addicted to it, and I think it's a lot of fun. And it's honestly one of the better games that I've played this year. Um, my biggest critique, my biggest complaint right now is there's no way to like play with friends. There's no way to
Really?
yeah, it's just 1v1 games, but there's like no friend code, there's no invite system, nothing. You're just playing a random every single time. And that really sucks. Like
Yeah.
if there were a definitive like way to be like, hey, I want to play with you or I want to play with Phil, then I should be able to do that. And it's just really unfortunate there's no way. I hope they add that later on down the line, and I hope they add it soon because I'd really, really like that. It hasn't taken away my enjoyment of the game, but it would be nice to go, 3, 4, 5 rounds with, Phil and, have us sort of tweak our decks against each other and, discover each other's personality while playing the game. But again, like I'm really enjoying the fact that like the matches are pretty quick. They're only 3 to 5 minutes long max. And you're getting through it pretty quickly and it doesn't require a whole lot of like I'm not noticing my battery drain too much. Like it's not crazy on the battery. I can even like lower the quality of the visuals to like improve my battery consumption, but it's really not that crazy. And I think the game has enough style and enough cool design and enough like flash to it to really visually keep me interested all the time. When you place a card, it usually animates in a way that a character would. For example, Nightcrawler does the little poof like thing when you put him down, which is pretty cool. Iron Man does like a little floating thing. Spider-Man Miles Morales flips onto the deck and stuff. Like it's like little cool little flashes like that. I think this game is a good mix of like approachability. It's easy to play, easy to pick up, difficult to master. Complexity. There is a level of building your deck to where you have its own personality, but you don't get lost in all of the different ways that you could. It's not as deep as say a Magic the Gathering, but it is more complex than Uno. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying all of that. Every match feels unique. And I'm actually pretty impressed with this game, and I'm going to continue playing it at least through the end of the year, and definitely until I can get my Spider-Man backs for my cards, because that's really what I'm just looking for now. This game came out of nowhere and impressed me severely, and I think it's a lot of fun, and I totally think it's worth downloading and giving a try. It's something I do every time I go to the bathroom, every time I'm waiting in a line, every time I'm, waiting for something else to start. I pull out my phone and I play 2 or 3 matches of this, and then I, put it away and stop thinking about it. And in those little bite-sized moments, I'm constantly feeling progression, leveling up my cards, leveling up my player level, getting new cards, swapping them out, leveling those up, getting new variants, getting new player icons, getting new backs of cards. Like I'm constantly feeling a level of progression that I think in other mobile games I wouldn't. There are no timers. You can play as much as you want. There's no like, hey, you just took 3 losses in a row, you can't play anymore. Or there's no like, hey, you just played 5 games, go wait for an hour before you can play another one or anything like that. You play as much as you want for as long as you want. And all of the microtransactions are put up on the cosmetic front. And so yeah, I am having a really good time with Marvel Snap, and I fully recommend it.
Who would have thought?
How do you feel about what you're seeing here?
Well, it looks like a solid card game, but not really my thing. Ultimately, I would have to say.
Okay, fair enough.
But hey, I mean, is it going to be like one of the best top games of the year?
It may or may not be on my list right now. Pretty low on the list, but it's there. It's there.
It's there. That's all I meant.
It knocked off Triangle Strategy. Saying that much, saying that much, and it knocked a couple other games down too. And it might knock another one. I haven't decided because I'm really enjoying it. But there's not a lot of depth. It's a mobile game. But it's a really good one, and I fully recommend it. And I think it's an example of how games can thrive in this space. So yeah, it's a solid fucking time. Give it a try. Is the most I can say. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 118. Thank you so much for watching and listening on youtube.com/Two Penny Gamescast or mainstream podcast services of your choice. Remember, we come every Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time. We stream games live on twitch.tv/Two Penny Games. We've got new Have You Ever Played episodes going up every Tuesday, new Piggy Bank episodes going up every Saturday, and breakout news segments going up every Wednesday and Friday. I hope you caught all that because it's a lot. And if it's too much, go ahead and hit that subscribe button over at youtube.com/Two Penny Gamescast to see all of the new reviews, impressions, news, gameplay segments, whatever you want. We've got it over here. So come hang out with us and have a good time. Speaking of a good time, until next time, have a good time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Bye.